So I'm sure by now you have heard that Gaza has attacked Israel and Israel retaliated, right? At least that's the narrative that is being pushed by a lot of the politicians. A lot of the politicians really are pretending as if, Gaza just simply attacked Israel unprovoked, and that's because that's what people who are being bombed regularly do, right? They just attack unprovoked. I'm sure that they want to piss off the country that clearly has a problem with them and has the bigger guns. That's how everybody thinks. No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. It's just not what happened. And I was tired of seeing this narrative being pushed over and over and over and over and over again that Israel simply retaliating because Israel has a right to defend itself, even if they are the perpetrator of the violence. And yes, once again, they are indeed the perpetrator of the violence. So where did this really begin? Israel bombed a senior commander of the Islamic Jihad resistance movement in the middle of a ceasefire. And of course, that prompted a retaliatory strike because not only did they kill the leader of this resistance movement, but also they killed his wife. Yeah, that's heartbreaking. I know. Now, ever since then, Israel has been launching rocket after rocket after rocket nonstop, and they've killed at least 24 people. The number's probably a little bit higher, but they've also injured dozens more, according to the health ministry in Palestine. So a lot of people are probably wondering, well, did this come out of nowhere? Like, what prompted this? And there's a lot of political nonsense going on in Israel. And this was actually covered by Aaron Matei in the Grayzone. He did a fantastic job giving the entire breakdown of this entire situation. So now there are suspicions in Israel by many credible Israeli journalists that this was a politically motivated move by Benjamin Netanyahu, who is, you all know, as the prime minister of Israel, what many of us on the left would call a raging racist sociopath. I don't know what else to call him, but they're alleging that this is a politically motivated move. Let me explain. Israel has actually held 2 elections with Netanyahu. They've held 2 in this year, and there was a stalemate in both. Benjamin Netanyahu, for whatever reason, can't beat Benny Gantz. That's a whole different situation, and Benny Gantz is an interesting character. He used to work in the Netanyahu administration, was the chief of the IDF. At one point, he left the IDF, while he was serving, he went to school in Tel Aviv. He went to a university in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is a very liberal, it's the capital of Israel, but it's also a very liberal, it's the liberal bastion of Israel. It's kind of like a San Francisco, New York, LA type of area, for those of you who don't know. After what seems to be some weird type of awakening after being just as bad as Netanyahu at one point, he actually started his own party. The party is called Blue and White. It obviously had the colors of Israel, but it's interesting because he has peace talks. He was encouraging peace talks with the Palestinian leadership. He was talking about term limits for prime ministers. He was talking about the fact that he was trying to introduce laws and legislation that said that if you have been indicted, then you cannot run for prime minister. Now, obviously, as you all know, a lot of these apply to Benjamin Netanyahu, okay? Term limits, he'd be out by now. He's been indicted before, and his family members have been indicted as well. And the guy doesn't want any type of peace with Palestine whatsoever. So Benny Gantz is because he has a lot of problems, mostly in his past before he went to school. But the man has been able to actually win a lot of support from the Joint List. And the Joint List is a coalition of Palestinians, and they generally obviously advocate on behalf of the Palestinian minority or the Arab minority in Israel, but also on behalf of the Palestinians in general. Now, this is why people think this is politically motivated, because obviously Netanyahu can't beat this guy. And if he's going to beat, clearly Benny Gantz has some of the left in Israel, or at least the center left in Israel, supporting him, or else he wouldn't even be able to have a stalemate with Netanyahu. Now, Netanyahu tweeted out a statement from a senior member of the Joint List, once again, Palestinian Coalition. And it said that if Israel mounted a major operation in Gaza, that would be the one thing that could kill the chances of the Joint List supporting a government under Israel's interim leader, Benny Gantz, excuse me. So what happens? A couple of days later, there is exactly that one thing that could have it's it's like when Obama was like, now there's a red line, okay? The red line is if Assad uses chemical weapons, then we're going to invade. That's the one thing that Assad could do. And then, of course, Assad did it. That didn't happen. It didn't really happen. But unfortunately, the bombing really did happen. But do you think Benny Gantz ordered it? Probably not. But we'll never know. We'll never know, at least not anytime soon. But that's coincidentally the one thing that happened. Now, the moral of the story is, I mean, everything that Netanyahu does or Israel's government does is politically motivated, right? They're trying to obliterate an entire group of people. But it's important to understand that this was started by Israel, once again, the Israeli government. And what's disgusting, once again, is you got the people like presidential candidates like Pete Buttigieg talking about, oh, I feel so bad for Israel being attacked. You know, they should be able to defend themselves. And then you got the Haaretz reporting, Israel strikes Hamas targets in response to Gaza drone strikes. Let me be clear about something. Once again, I strongly urge you to go watch the Grayzone's segment on this. This situation actually had nothing to do with Hamas. And it's weird that you hear Hamas's name being thrown around a lot, but Hamas is actually trying to stay neutral in the situation because the jihadist resistance group is actually not directly attached to Hamas. I know, can you believe it? There's a bunch of Palestinians who are pissed at the Israeli government. I know, it's hard to believe. But they're not directly attached to Hamas, and Hamas wasn't the one who launched rockets at Israel in a retaliatory strike. However, you're going to hear a lot about Hamas's name being thrown out there again because that's how propaganda works. They use the name of the people who you know and you've already demonized and you've been successfully conditioned to hate. The moral of the story is, ladies and gentlemen, once again, Israel is in the wrong. It should not be construed as anything else. Anything that Gaza or any resistance group in Gaza has done in response has been retaliatory and they were not the initiators. It seems as if what has been reported is true, that unfortunately the Palestinians are once again another pawn in a political game being played on behalf of Netanyahu. Surprise, surprise. The raging racist sociopath is once again putting lives at risk, ending lives really, in order to achieve his own goals. I'd love to know what your thoughts are about this. Like, share this video, leave a comment below, and always remember people more than anything else. Find your balance. Peace. Hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Of course, if YouTube is giving you trouble, as it always does, you can download the Rokfin app and follow us there. Also, if you want to continue to help our show grow, you can help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon and donate as little as $1. Really, anything helps. Other than that, always remember people more than anything else. Find your balance. Peace.